The National Weather Service just released an update that's got everyone sitting up and taking notice. We've already got 14 states that have hit the panic button with emergency declarations. Those ice storm alerts. Yeah, they keep growing. And here's the kicker. This isn't even close to being over. We're potentially looking at this nasty pattern hanging around well into February. I've watched a lot of storms roll through over the years. And what we're staring down right now is genuinely one for the history books. This isn't your typical wham. Bam. Thank you, ma'am, winter blast that drops some snow and disappears. We're talking about weeks of Arctic air making repeated visits, possibly several major storms hitting one after another. And the kind of bone-chilling cold that doesn't just inconvenience people, it creates genuine emergencies. Let me lay out what the latest numbers are telling us. Because the info that dropped this afternoon is a game-changer for millions of folks, the National Weather Service updated their snow totals at 3 p.m. And honestly, the numbers are pretty wild. See those lighter orange areas on the maps? They're looking at close to 8 inches piling up. That darker orange zone sweeping from Oklahoma clear through Kentucky, southern Indiana, Ohio, Virginia, and up into the Northeast. A solid foot of the white stuff. Some spots, especially up in the hills and mountains, will see even more than that. But here's the thing. Snow isn't really what makes weatherheads lose sleep over this system. It's the ice that turns a serious winter storm into something potentially devastating. Quick aside, if you want the forecast breakdown for where you live, drop your location in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you when I can. And hey, if you're finding this helpful, hitting that subscribe button would be awesome. All right, moving on. The updated ice predictions show a 1/4 inch possible across this absolutely massive stretch, reaching all the way to Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey. In those darker shaded zones, we're talking 1/2 inch. The lighter purple areas could see 3/4 of an inch, and that deep purple section covering chunks of the deep south, up to a full inch of ice buildup. Let me break down what that actually means on the ground. A 1/4 inch of ice makes roads sketchy and knocks out power here and there. 1/2 inch starts snapping tree branches and causing widespread blackouts. But 3/4 to a full inch. That's when things get really scary. We're talking catastrophic damage to infrastructure, power outages that could drag on for weeks, and conditions that genuinely put lives at risk. The ice storm warning zone has ballooned since yesterday. It now runs from eastern Texas, sweeps through Louisiana past Alexandria, cuts through southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, blankets Tennessee, including around Knoxville, dips down through Atlanta and northern Georgia, crosses upstate South Carolina toward Columbia, and pushes into North Carolina. That's a staggering amount of territory facing the worst this storm can dish out. Right now, we've got about 41,000 customers without power nationwide, with Texas accounting for roughly 11,000 of those. Brace yourself, those numbers are about to skyrocket over the next couple of days. We could easily be looking at millions sitting in the dark before this is done. Now here's why this whole setup has meteorologists genuinely worried beyond just this one storm. Weather folks use these things called teleconnections to read the atmosphere's big picture mood. Two of the heavy hitters for predicting eastern U.S. winter weather are the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation. Right now, both are nosediving into negative territory and camping out there. When the Arctic Oscillation goes negative, basically the polar vortex gets wobbly and all that Arctic air comes flooding south. The current data shows this negative trend sticking around through the end of January and into early February. Translation: we're not getting one cold snap. We're getting pummeled repeatedly, like nature's version of a boxing combination. The North Atlantic Oscillation tells us what's happening weather-wise across the central and eastern U.S. And yep, it's also tanking and staying down. When you combine these two, you get this blocking pattern that basically traps freezing air over the eastern half of the country with zero escape route. Here's what that means in plain English. After this current storm passes through, you might get a day or two where it warms up just enough to melt some stuff. Then, boom, the deep freeze roars back. Maybe another quick warm-up, then more Arctic air. Rinse and repeat through late January and well into the first half of Contreaty. My only lipstick, Ruby Kiss. Ruby Kiss, only Ruby Kiss. Only Ruby Kiss has the luxury set Kest that leaves at lust of Livy's, and leaves it in, like a last and left, lies a live/lev, law of lasting color. Rinse and repeat. And remiss it and reprieve, so I lifts it, like February. Any ice or snow that doesn't completely disappear during those brief, mild spells. It refreezes solid when the cold returns. We're going to see black ice forming over and over across these areas. Roads that looked perfectly fine in the afternoon turn into ice rinks overnight. The danger doesn't pack up and leave when the snow stops falling. It hangs around for potentially weeks. Let me walk you through what the temperature roller coaster looks like, so you understand what communities are up against. Sunday morning brings freezing temps plunging way down south. The wind chill will be absolutely brutal. Everything that came down frozen stays frozen, no negotiation. Monday morning gets even colder. We're talking wind chills that'll freeze exposed skin in minutes. Tuesday morning, even worse. Single-digit readings pushing as far south as the Carolina coast. Yeah, you read that right, the coast. Tuesday afternoon gives everyone a breather. Temps finally climb above freezing across Texas, Louisiana, southern Arkansas. Chunks of southeastern Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and eastern Tennessee. This is your shot at some thawing, some melting, maybe catching your breath a bit. But don't get too comfortable by Wednesday morning. Freezing temps are back with a vengeance. Any puddles or melted ice freeze instantly. Black ice everywhere you look. The wind chills Wednesday morning are downright dangerous again. Thursday brings another freeze. And this whole freeze-Thor-freeze nightmare keeps cycling through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and potentially into the following Wednesday, before showing any signs of letting up. That's nearly 2 weeks of repeatedly dangerous conditions after the main storm hits. For anyone who loses power during the big event, this extended deep freeze becomes a genuine survival situation. Now let's talk about when stuff starts falling. And what kind of stuff we're talking about. Because knowing the difference matters a lot for how you get ready and respond. Later tonight, around 4 to 5 a.m., the first edge of precipitation starts pushing into the southern plains. The high-res models show sleet as that peachy-orange color and freezing rain as pink. Sleet makes that telltale, bouncing, rattling sound when it hits stuff. It piles up on roads and makes driving treacherous, sure, but it's way less destructive than freezing rain. Freezing rain is the silent menace. It coats trees, power lines, and everything elevated with this shell of ice that just keeps getting heavier and heavier, hour by hour through the evening, 8 p.m. 10 p.m., midnight, the precipitation area keeps expanding. Heavy snow develops across Oklahoma and stretches into Arkansas. By early Saturday morning, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m., the accumulations really start stacking up. All that freezing rain and sleet has been coming down for hours at this point. The system keeps charging eastward through Saturday afternoon and evening. A second surge of energy kicks in, ramping up precipitation across Arkansas and northern Louisiana. Mississippi gets absolutely hammered with a mix of sleet and freezing rain. Whether you're getting more sleet or more freezing rain becomes super important here. More sleet means fewer power outages. Primarily freezing rain means the worst infrastructure damage. For the Carolinas. Here's something you need to understand about your specific situation. There's this weather quirk called cold air damming that affects your region. Basically, cold, dense air gets wedged against the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains and just sits there stubbornly. This trapped cold air is why precipitation that might fall as snow or rain somewhere else turns into freezing rain and sleet in the Piedmont and foothills. The models keep showing this cold air dam staying put. Throughout the whole event, North Carolina, you're getting freezing rain first, then switching over to sleet as colder air finally takes over at ground level. When that transition happens, matters hugely. The longer you stay stuck in freezing rain mode before flipping to sleet, the worse your ice buildup and power outage mess becomes. The Mid-Atlantic gets clobbered Saturday night into Sunday. Up north, it starts as snow, transitions to sleet as it spreads south, then changes to freezing rain, where surface temps are hovering right around the freezing mark. Anywhere the ground is already frozen when the precipitation shows up overhead, you're getting some form of ice accumulation. There are big thunderstorms embedded in this system. Weather nerds sometimes call them thunder snow or thunder ice, cranking out crazy intense precipitation. These bursts of heavy stuff rapidly pile up accumulations, which is why some areas could end up on the higher end of what's being forecast. The impacts from this storm will stretch roughly 2,000 miles from the desert southwest clear to New England. That's an almost mind-boggling geographic scope for one weather system. But here's what's really got me concerned looking ahead. Beyond this immediate disaster, the model data increasingly suggests another C.